Standing By, the Terry and Ted podcast, is sponsored by the UPS Store Canada. More than 380 convenient neighborhood locations throughout Canada. The UPSstore.ca.
Good afternoon, everybody.
Hey, Terry DeMonte. How are you, buddy?
I used to be radio announcer.
So did I.
April the 16th today, and it looks like we've turned the corner. I shouldn't be talking about the weather because we record this on Tuesday, but it sure was nice on the drive in this morning. And finally, I can see some of my backyard up north. The snow, the 4 feet that was in my backyard, is just about gone.
I would like to think that we've seen the last of it. You never know.
Me too.
It's only the middle of April.
Yes.
And it could turn on us again, but yeah, it sure felt like spring over the weekend.
Yeah, it sure did. Yeah. And that's a look at the weather. Welcome to the podcast for another week. Our title sponsor is the UPS Store Canada, who offer you mailbox services, printing services, packaging, and shipping. They also offer you an Aeroplan program. They can do passports and ID photos. They have a small business blog on their website. Am I reading this off their website? I am. And that's because it's a good place to go, especially if you own a small business.
You've got me convinced.
Yep. The UPS Stores Canada are all across the land from coast to coast to coast. There's over 400 of them now. And what I love about them is the work that they do, of course, but the fact that they're all owned by entrepreneurs in your community. So somebody who lives in your community is helping you out with either your small business or maybe just a small shipping thing that you've got to take care of. With moving season around the corner, a lot of people will be popping in for just simple things like boxes and tape and labels. It really is a one-stop place to solve a lot of your problems, whether or not you own a business or you just got to get a little bit of shipping done. The UPS stores across the country are waiting to see you. Go to the upsstore.ca. They are, I think, a proud title sponsor of the Standing By podcast.
Indeed they are. I would like to think that they are.
Yes.
Yeah.
Let's start with, I'd like to know, I was very jealous of you yesterday. You went to the Green Spot.
I did.
And I love the Green Spot. It's a Montreal, it's an iconic Montreal restaurant.
Yeah, it's on Notre Dame, a little bit west of Atwater. Yeah. I hadn't been there in years, maybe even decades.
Really, eh?
Yeah.
Wow.
But I had breakfast with someone who lives in that neighborhood.
Nice.
And it's like a little bit of a step back into time almost.
Love
it. They even had the old school, what do you call them? Not a jukebox.
Yeah,
but
they're
at the booth, like a music thing. You put a coin in and you pick your song.
It's a jukebox, but they
but a tiny one.
Yeah. Those were the remote jukeboxes at each table.
Yeah, merely decorative at this point.
Yeah, it is. Yeah.
But the food was pretty good and not a bad deal by today's standards.
Yeah.
You know, it's I spent I didn't spend, actually. She bought me breakfast.
Very nice.
Thank you, my Tante Denise.
Okay,
very nice. And it was, I think it was like $15, but I got everything. I got, bacon and sausage and ham and eggs and a piece of French toast.
Yeah, that's what I love about that place. You can go in there and, have a big dinner, or you can have a couple of hot dogs.
Yeah.
It's that classic Quebec service, and the food is absolutely terrific. That's why I've been there for, 60, 70 years. I had, Jess and I had a quick bite at Nick's on Green Avenue.
Oh, yeah?
Speaking of iconic places.
Seriously?
That place has been there for 100 years.
Has it really?
It's 100 years that Nick's has been on Green Avenue.
Nick must be so tired.
He is tired. And Rob, it's a great story. I don't know if you know this story. Rob worked there as an employee for the longest time and ended up owning the restaurant. It's a long story to tell, and I don't want to tell. And now he's passed it along to some of his employees. He sat with us for a little while after I had the greatest chicken salad sandwich in the history of the world. And Nick's, again, everybody who lives in the neighborhood knows where it is. Mm-hmm. If you've never been, it's also a little bit of a step back in time with really high quality standards and really great service. Our waitress has been there for 32 years.
Wow.
She said you're the guy that used to work down the street, aren't
what's
you?
His name? Aren't
yeah.
you? Yeah. Here's a quick anecdote, and actually you can add something to this. Speaking of Green Avenue, I got a text the other night from my friend Lynn Challa saying, I'm at a party and we're having a debate. Was the Shome building on Green Avenue haunted? Because someone says there was a ghost in the Shome building. And I said, well, I never worked in the old Shome building. I only worked in the newer one. That one was not haunted, but my understanding is that, as legend has it, there was a ghost in the old one.
If you talk to anybody who worked in that building, the building is gone. It burned down.
Right. It's on the other. It was on the other side of the street from where Shome was when we worked.
I think it's an art gallery now. 1355 Green was the address.
It was an old mansion, wasn't it?
It was an old mansion, and in the control room, they had. I never worked there. I visited there as a record rep a couple of times. But I arrived in November of 1984. They moved out of that building in October of 1984, so I just missed it. The floors creaked. People who are still with us can tell you the stories. Our old buddy Rob Braid will tell you the stories.
Too Tall worked there, did he not?
Too Tall also worked there, and the control room had one of those, was in the back where you could open the window and go out on the balcony and have a smoke
a joint.
And you could hear the garbage truck in the background when you were doing your breaks, those kinds of things. Yeah, really quite a story. And apparently, yes, there was a Shome ghost.
There you go.
Yeah.
There you go, Lynn.
There you go. And I mentioned it when we were doing our little promo. I don't go to McDonald's much anymore. Do you?
I haven't been to McDonald's. I don't remember the last time I went to McDonald's.
All right. So it's not worth talking about.
No?
I don't think so. Jess and I were talking about it. We were coming back from somewhere. I don't remember where we were coming back from it. And we hadn't eaten, and it was late at night. And she said, let's just, we'll get a quick small cheeseburger or something to plug the hole. And now when you go into a McDonald's, they're like, they used to be a place where you could go get, quick service. There'd be like, 11 or 12 caches across. There'd be somebody at every cache.
Hence the term fast food.
Yeah. And you would, order from the person at the cache. And as the person at the cache was punching in your order, somebody would be going to get it. And by the time you had the change in your hand, you would have a bag of McDonald's food.
Yeah.
Now, not the greatest food in the world, but I worked at McDonald's at a time when they kind of cared about what they were doing. Now I find, it could be an age thing. Maybe I'm just way, way past it, because we go maybe once a year, twice a year. And I find that not only has the whole sort of operation changed so that you go in, you do the ordering, you stand at the board and, do your ordering. There's one person at one cache if you don't want to do your own order on the board. And they have a screen that says now serving. Like an old cafeteria, and a lot of angry people sitting around, standing around when they're crowded. And I know why they abandoned the old model, because
they can save money. They don't have to hire as many people.
And it's really, really industrial. Here's your burger. I don't give a shit how it's prepared kind of food.
It's got a kind of a Soviet era feel to it, the way you describe it.
It really does.
Line up here for your radish.
Because they cooked the burgers. When I worked there when I was a kid, 80 years ago, you cooked the burgers, you made the burger, and the burgers were kept in a holding bin for about 6 or 7 minutes. And when they were old and gross, they got wasted, tossed aside. Now they cook the meat and they put the meat in a drawer.
Yeah, well, we've had this conversation before. It all tastes like cardboard now.
Yeah.
The only fast food I still genuinely enjoy is Kentucky Fried Chicken, because it still tastes the same as it did when I was a kid. It might be squirrel, it might be pigeon, I don't know. But those 11 herbs and spices do the trick for me.
Yeah, and they're, anyway, I just wondered if there was, people had a favorite McDonald's where, the people were smiling and everything was clean and the food wasn't bad, but I don't think that exists.
They're franchises, right? Like you can buy a McDonald's franchise.
Yeah,
no?
like
there are some families around the Montreal area who own a number of them. There's Tom Capelli.
Over
on the South Shore.
On the Capellis.
I don't know. I don't know if they still own McDonald's franchises, but they did for many years. I know. Yeah. And they cared.
They really did.
Yeah.
Yeah, and there's a great story about a guy that I worked with at the McDonald's on Sources Road. He ended up owning a bunch on the West Island too. But like I say, I'm not a regular and haven't been for a very long time. But sometimes you go in and remember I was saying a couple of weeks ago, you're comforted by things that are still there and still do. Like the Green Spot or like Nick's.
Yeah.
They're still there.
Beauties is another one.
Beauties is another one. They're still there. They're still good. They're comforting.
Yeah, and it makes you sad when you go somewhere and it's not there anymore.
Yeah. Did you watch the Masters?
I watched the fourth round, most of the fourth round, and boy, he tried hard to lose.
Oh my God.
Well, he wasn't trying to lose, obviously.
Yeah.
But Rory McIlroy, who ultimately won, it looked for a little bit like he was going to win it going away. Well, out of the gate, he found, what did I say on social media? He's finding bunkers like it's D-Day.
Yeah.
But then he got it together,
Yeah.
and Bryson DeChambeau started to fade. And then I thought, okay, Rory's he's gonna run away with this. Didn't he have like a 5-stroke lead at one point?
I don't know if it was 5, but he was I think at least 3 strokes ahead.
Mm-hmm.
And when he missed that putt on 18, I was watching it. My wife Jess is a really good golfer, and her father is also a really good golfer. And the three of us were watching it all Sunday afternoon. And when he missed the putt, we all screamed. We couldn't believe our eyes, because at that point there had been so much drama,
and he could have won it with that putt. They would have been over.
Yes,
but because he missed it, it
went
forced
to a
playoff.
Yeah,
and it just had this. The choke story was writing itself.
Yeah, and it was so chock-a-block. I watched it from Thursday on, and it was just so chock-a-block full of amazing stories and amazing shots. Even if you don't like golf, you could follow along with the drama, I think.
Yeah.
Because everybody was talking about it on Sunday night and Monday morning. And if you don't know what we're talking about, the Masters is kind of like the Super Bowl of golf. Everybody looks forward to it every April. The Masters is played at Augusta, which is a course in Georgia. And it's kind of like the hallowed halls of, it's kind of, I don't know what you would compare it to, kind of like Notre Dame for football, or, the Montreal Forum for hockey, those kinds of.
Yeah, it's like the temple.
Yeah, exactly.
The sacred ground.
Yeah. And what makes it interesting now is the golfers that are in live golf are allowed to play at the Masters. Bryson DeChambeau is a live golfer.
That's the rival tour to the PGA that the Saudis set up a few years ago.
That's right.
Came with billions of dollars and said, "Here, golfers.
Yeah, here, come golf with us." Okay. Anyway, threw a wrench into the golf world, but made gillionaires out of a lot of already gillionaires. Yeah. Anyway, it's quite a tournament, and at the Masters, there's always a lot, because of the design of the course and the greens and everything. There's always a lot of drama, and even people that don't watch a lot of golf will spend Sunday afternoon watching the Masters.
I very seldom watch golf, but I'll always watch the fourth round of the Masters.
And I think another key part of the Masters is the coverage. The people that run the Masters tournament in Augusta, they give the broadcast rights to CBS, and they control the broadcast. And part of the control of the broadcast is you're only allowed to sell 4 minutes of commercial an hour. Now, if you ever watch golf or any other sport on any other channel, that's, I don't know, a quarter of what you would see commercial-wise in other places. And I think that's part of what is really smart on the Masters' part. It isn't interrupted constantly by commercials. And that kind of helps build the drama. Anyway, in golf, there's something called the Grand Slam, where the British Open, the U.S. Open, the Masters,
and the PGA Championship.
And there are only, I think now, I'm going to screw all this up.
5 or 6, I think. Rory McIlroy I believe he became the 6th golfer to win the Grand Slam.
Look it up, but he won the Grand Slam, and he's been trying to win the Grand Slam for 15 plus years. Yeah. And it's kind of like a monkey off his back kind of thing.
Well, you saw his emotion after he sunk the putt on the first playoff hole to win it. Like he was heaving, sobbing.
Yeah.
on the ground, on his
it was-
hands and knees.
Yeah, 15 or 17 years of emotion came out of that. And it was spectacular. And I saw a tweet on Sunday night that got, I don't know, hundreds of thousands of retweets and likes and whatnot. And the tweet was, I think maybe the boomers are right. Maybe we should start banning phones at sporting events, because there's a great picture of Rory on his knees heaving and a huge crowd in the background and not one single phone.
That's great.
And that's because at the Masters, you're not allowed to have a phone. And
I think that's a great idea.
I loved it. I absolutely loved it. Everybody
It cheapens the moment.
Yeah,
When everybody's holding their phone up recording it,
I agree.
It cheapens the moment.
And I think some of that may be starting to puncture, the zeitgeist of, nothing but phones everywhere all the time. Jess went to see Franz Ferdinand last night at M. Telus, and apparently the lead singer said, okay, I'm going to ask you a favor. Just one song. That's all I ask. I'm going to sing a song now. We're going to do a song. Please, 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 just for this one song, please put your phones away. Just for the one song. And apparently everybody did.
Yeah. Well, you're also cheating yourself.
I agree.
I found myself doing that. Like I'm recording something or taking pictures, and then I go, shit, I was so busy recording that or taking these pictures, I missed it.
You see it all the time at hockey games.
Yeah.
There's guys sitting, guys or kids or families sitting in the second row behind the visiting bench or the Canadians bench, and they're looking down at their phones. And I'm thinking to myself, wow, like, why aren't you watching?
Yeah. You know where else you see it, and it drives me crazy, and you won't relate to this, but AA meetings.
Is that right?
Yeah. People are on their phones, and boy, oh boy, let me tell you, 20 years ago, you would have been dragged out of the room by your ear by an old-timer.
And
Put that away.
Isn't it insulting?
It is.
It's actually, I think it's kind of rude if you're listening to people speak.
Yeah. And sobriety is supposed to be your priority.
Right.
So can you not for 1 hour?
Right.
Like I always turn mine off.
Yeah.
And at the beginning of the meeting, they say, please silence your phones so as not to disrupt the meeting. And I if it was up to me, it would be turn your phones off or leave them in a bag
Yeah.
at the door
Yeah.
when you come in.
Yeah.
But the gate's been kicked open, and there's no
can't put the
there's no
genie,
turning back now.
back
But
in the bottle.
I can remember at meetings like 25 years ago, when back when phones looked like the thing you would call in artillery with.
Yes.
And if anybody, when the smartphones first came out, if anybody was on their phone, they'd have daggers stared at them.
Yeah.
Or someone would go over and
But
say,
now it's part of the culture, and there's a new generation of people that have been raised with it, are addicted to it, and couldn't imagine being without
well,
it.
imagine being in a room full of alcoholics addicted to their phones.
Yeah.
That's why I turn mine off.
Yeah.
Yeah. What are you going to do?
I don't know.
You wanna
Talk
hear-
about it.
Yeah. Yeah. Can I tell you about my bunion?
I'd like to hear about your bunion.
Yeah.
Yes, I would.
Actually, Dr. Terry gave me that diagnosis. I thought I had the gout because my big toe was hurting, and then I showed Terry last week, and he went, "No, that's a bunion."
I think that's a bunion.
Yeah, your grandmother used to get those. You said, yeah,
Yeah.
It's at the bottom. It's at the joint where the big toe joins the instep, and so I thought, well, I'm going to make the best of this. So I named my bunion. I called it Paul.
Boo!
Paul Bunyan. But I went to the podiatrist yesterday.
Oh, okay.
And she told me it's bursitis.
Okay, so I was wrong. What
Yeah.
with me not having a degree or anything?
There you go. Yeah. And my friend Evan from South Africa.
Yes.
He said to me, "Oh, Ted," he says, I know about bunions. I got those in the army. Here's what we're going to do. We're going to get a scalpel and a knife, and I'm going to take care of it for you.
Oh, no, you're not.
I said, "Evan, I think I'll go see the podiatrist first." No. You just bite down on a stick, and I'm going to take care of the rest. Like in a movie where an old Western movie where they take the bullet out.
Yeah.
Doc says, take a swig of this whiskey and bite down on this stick, and I'll pull out the bullet. That's what Evan wanted to do with my foot.
So what? It wasn't a bunion. It was
It's bursitis,
Okay.
which is good because bursitis can heal itself.
Oh, it goes away.
Yeah.
Okay.
But a bunion doesn't.
Okay.
And you have to, like, that might have, those can require surgery.
Yeah.
Or you have to go see Evan.
So what do you do? What do you do?
I just ice
wait?
Ice it and wait and hope it goes away.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
All right. So it wasn't grave.
No,
Right.
no. It wasn't the gout. It wasn't Paul Bunyan. It was bursitis.
I'm steering us back on the Masters.
You don't want to hear more about my my health issues?
Oh, is there more? No. Okay. Would you like to talk about the gout?
No, it's fine. Yeah, yeah. Steer us back to the math.
Yeah, that's right. Because you did a thing.
Yes. Oh, yeah. Well, Terry and I, for years and years and years, we've poked fun at, as Terry said, the Masters. It's the hallowed ground of golf, Augusta, and there's been rhetorical overkill over the years on the broadcast. The majesty and the glory and the magnolias.
They treat it with respect, but sometimes they go over the top.
Yeah, it can be a little bit over the top is a good way to describe it. So I was watching it the other day, and some of that was going on, and I thought, okay, I have to parody this.
Right.
And so I made a little parody, and
put my headphones on for
put your
this.
headphones
All right.
on.
Okay.
If you're a Quebecer, you'll probably get this more than if you're not. But this is if the Masters was mini putt.
Okay.
Is what this is. For mini putt royalty, there is one tournament, one venue that transcends all others. They see it in their sleep, feel it in their bones. They smell it in the wafting stench from the open-air dump on the other side of the dirt road, adjacent to the Bouche du Clown. They hear it in the distant, frenzied cries of seagulls sparring for scraps in the parking lot at Patate Bébé Mario. This is a course whose founders had a flair and a foresight for drama. Whether the backdrop is the ninth-hole windmill Porte de la Victoire or the Oi Oi sewer pipe on 18, where dreams go to die. Great champions have conquered it, and it has conquered them. This is Putt Putt Mon Tabarnak, and welcome to the 2025 Chez Ma Tante Denise Invitational.
Very nice.
Thank you very much.
Very well done. That's a lovely tribute to the Masters.
Isn't it though?
Well, if you're from Quebec, you remember there was early days of sports television when there was...
The early days of RDS.
That's right.
Yeah, Birdie!
They covered mini putt, and there was that famous call, Birdie! You can find them on YouTube, by the way.
No doubt.
You'll laugh harder if you're from Quebec with that particular thing. Now, another look at sports. We must talk about the Habs, because the Habs are... When you're... When you're listening to this, it all may be decided.
Yes. We record on Tuesday.
Right. So we watched the Blackhawks last night.
We watched the Blackhawks beat the Canadians in a shootout in Ivan Demidov's debut. And how spectacular was that?
A goal and an assist.
As advertised and then some. And you know who he reminds me of?
Who?
Pavel Bure.
Wow.
With that speed and those hands, I think that's a good comparison.
That's amazing.
For Ivan Demidov. But the Canadians lost the game, so for the third game in a row, they blew an opportunity to clinch a playoff spot. Last night, as in Tuesday night, Columbus played the Philadelphia Flyers. We're recording before that game. If the Flyers beat Columbus, the Habs are already in. If the Blue Jackets won the game, then the Habs have to win tonight and hope that the Blue Jackets lose tomorrow.
Okay. So, I mean... It was quite a comeback for a team full of kids, really. Eh? I mean, in terms of having them in the playoff picture.
Well, it's been a progression. I saw a chart. I guess I must have been watching TSN the other night, and I saw a chart where 2 seasons ago it was, make a plan and draft wisely, and then the next season, which was last season, was learn and start to compete, and then this season was, take a shot
right
at the playoffs, and that team will only get better.
They're
very young
and very fun to watch, and there have been some really lovely surprises, including the young defenseman
Lane Hudson.
Thank you very much.
Yeah, well, there was never any question of his skill. It was his size that's the reason he lasted to the second round. And the
sure
Canadians
doesn't matter, though, because what a beautiful hockey player to watch.
Yeah.
that he's got so much hockey sense.
Yeah,
so
he
much fun to watch.
controls the pace of the game the way Bobby Orr used to.
Yeah.
He really does.
Yeah, great.
He can hang on to the puck the way Bobby Orr
Yeah.
used to, and speed up the game or slow it down the way Bobby Orr used
And the
to.
pass he made on the tying goal last night was quite something. Again, that was Monday night.
Right.
Yeah.
He's still prone to defensive mistakes. So was Bobby Orr.
Yeah, well,
Bobby Orr would get caught up the ice a lot because he played a lot in the offensive zone.
And when you look at him, he looks like he has to be in bed at 9:30.
I was going to say, he's 11, so
he's got some time to learn. Yeah. Let's take a moment to remind you about Sugar Sammy. I was telling everybody on social media that there are tickets left. If you're listening to this on Wednesday, the 16th of April, which is the day of the release of this podcast, there are some tickets left this weekend for the late show. But when you go on Sammy's website, you'll see the 7 o'clock shows are sold out, and the later shows are marked low tickets or few remaining.
Yeah, Saturday, April 19th, 9:30 p.m.
Yeah.
Low ticket alert.
Yeah.
Sunday, there's just the one show on Sunday, April 20th. That's a 7 p.m. show. Tickets still available, but again, low ticket alert.
And then after that, you're on the website. Scroll forward. I think it's Gatineau, and then it's on to other far-flung...
After that, it's Quebec City.
Quebec City?
Quebec City, the weekend of the 25th and 26th. And then the weekend after that is Gatineau. And then... away he goes. He's flying far, far away.
Yeah.
Dubai.
Okay. There you go.
Dubai, London, England, and then he kicks off an American tour. Does he do arenas or clubs or both in the States?
He does clubs.
Yeah?
He's building an audience in the States. You know, he's doing what he did in Canada, in America, and he also plays clubs in Europe. And he's, he plays the long game, Sammy. Slowly but surely builds audiences through, his social media, his website, and word of mouth. People that go to see him go home and tell people, you've got to go see this guy.
Yeah.
And this is the last chance to see this unique presentation in both languages for now. This show that he's got now.
You're going to rear de?
Yeah. I suspect Sammy will come back. Not sure when, but it will probably be, the next time he tours will probably be all new material. Although the world doesn't stop giving him topics to talk about.
It sure doesn't, no.
And he's so much fun to watch. He's so unique. And it's pretty good bang for the buck when you buy a Sugar Sammy ticket and go out for the night.
Yeah. The theater shows are great, and they're they're really tailor-made for Montreal because it's a bilingual show and he draws a big audience here. But my preferred venue for a stand-up comedian is a club.
Yes.
Because of the intimacy.
Yeah.
You've seen Sammy in clubs.
Yeah, I've seen
How
him.
different is it from when you go see him at a theater?
It's absolutely the same, because one of Sammy's talents is he can turn a theater into
an intimate venue.
Exactly. It feels like it's a club. Jess and I saw him in San Francisco, probably in front of about 400 people, 300 people in a club. And it was terrific, but it was no less or more terrific than it is when you see him at Il de Separatist quelque chose there. What's it
the
called?
Pierre Mercure Theater?
Yeah, that place. Yeah. Well, UQAM.
Yeah.
Not a bastion of federalism.
No,
let's
certainly
put it there.
not. Yeah, they don't have.
Way.
Yeah, the John Diefenbaker Theater is not the venue at UQAM.
SugarSammy.com. That's where to get all your information. Look at some killer videos, some great crowd work, and get your tickets. And don't wait, because it says low tickets. So
Is it the Pierre Mercure Hall at because it says here that's at the Centre Pierre Pelodeau. Is that right?
Yeah.
Yeah, Sal Pierre Mercure, UQAM.
Yes.
There you go. That's the spot. That's the place.
UQAM. I like saying UQAM.
UQAM.
It's one of the phrases that you can say as an English guy.
Yeah.
UQAM.
I was saying to Louise, the parking lot attendant, when I arrived today in my bad French, we were talking about, I don't know how we got onto it. I think we were talking about Easter, and then we started talking about swearing in French. And I was telling her about my theory that the French word for coyote would be a good French swear word. Coyote. Kayut. And she went,
Doesn't work.
no.
Doesn't
It works
cross
with an
over.
English audience.
Yeah.
You say that to English, room full of English
Yeah.
people, and they'll laugh. Yeah. But
French people are like, what's wrong with you?
Yeah, really. Eh? Kayut. C'est un Kayut. What's the matter with you? There's nothing funny about that. It's not a swear word. It's a Kayut.
Yeah, it's like saying, fork would be a good swear word. Let's look at some of the mail before we go. Oh, actually, let me talk to you about beer. I just wanted to tell a couple of beer stories. Okay. I don't know if you've noticed, or you wouldn't have noticed, Ted, because you don't drink beer. There was a story in the Gazette a couple of days ago about Hurley's. All tapped out of Guinness. There's a worldwide shortage of Guinness. Mostly in the kegs, and local restaurants and bars like Hurley's are not flipping out, but they're having trouble getting Guinness deliveries. And one of the reasons
Terry drank it all.
that's one of the reasons. One of the reasons is the success of the new alcohol-free Guinness.
I've had one.
Yeah. And what's your?
Well, I don't know. I guess it's good. I was not a stout drinker.
Yeah.
That's what a Guinness is, right? It's a stout ale.
It's like a bowl of oatmeal to me.
Exactly.
I never understood it.
So I tried it just out of curiosity.
Yeah.
And one was plenty. I do know that non-alcoholic beers are better than they used to be.
Yes.
It's been a process for them to make it palatable for people who enjoy beer, because the old stuff was like drinking bat piss. But as someone who's in long-term recovery, I generally steer clear of it, because I think, speaking of slippery slopes.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Gotcha. Guinness said they were kind of surprised by the success of the alcohol-free Guinness because the reason apparently Guinness zero alcohol tastes so good is because it's brewed as regular Guinness, and then the alcohol is removed from it. That's why it tastes so good. And apparently there's a TikTok drink the beer down to the G thing that's really sent influencers to publicize the brand, so more people are ordering it and drinking it. Anyway, there's a shortage in town. So go easy on your local pub owner. I'm sure they will explain it to you. And the other thing I wanted to mention, I found this interesting, because I guess the booze companies are panicking. A lot of American booze companies must be panicking because they hired Mark Messier. Budweiser hired Mark Messier to pitch a beer called the City of Champions. If you go online, you'll see the commercial with Mark Messier in it. It's a Budweiser brewed for people in Edmonton, because Edmonton likes to refer to itself as the City of Champions. And Mark Messier is running a campaign that Budweiser has launched to see if they can encourage people to drink Budweiser, because Budweiser is an American brand, blah, blah, blah. You know the story.
Yeah.
And the other thing I wanted to mention, this was in our local paper, in the local Cadiz up, or whatever it's called in North. Jess and I are fans, especially Jess, of a brewery called Shawbridge. They brew beers with...
Isn't that a youth detention center?
Well, it's also a brewery.
Okay.
And Shawbridge...
So they got the kids making beer.
Yeah, probably. I'm sure they love this plug. They do maple syrup beer. They got a beer called the 117 with the 117 highway logo on it.
117% alcohol.
And they've just they took an ad in the local Cadiz. It's not called the Cadiz. I don't know what it's called. It's the local newspaper. Yeah. They just launched a beer called the 11th Province, and what they did was they put the Canadian flag on the American map. And the beaver is wearing fleur-de-lis sunglasses. So they're trying to have
That's clever.
Yeah.
And good for them for having fun with it.
Yeah, that's what I thought. I thought it was a little bit of fun, and they're a local brewery, and you might get a kick out of it. And I don't know what the paper is called. I just,
I like Locales.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay. Shall we address some of the mail we got this week?
We shall.
Okay. I'm going to start with this one from Jonathan Lalonde. Jonathan sent us a note saying, "Hi, Terry and Ted. I wanted to share with you and the podcast community and more news about the destruction of our heritage." Thanks. Jonathan is referring to the sale of Face School that I hadn't heard about. And I said to Jonathan, for sure I will talk about this on the podcast. I've been to the Face School to speak in my early days as a broadcaster. And Jonathan points out it's another heritage building that's been left to die on its own for the past 30 years. It is a Montreal landmark. It's just next to McGill, where Jonathan says all communities unite. And I loved this explanation of where Jonathan thinks he fits in the community. He said, I'm a French-speaking, middle-class separatist from the East End. Some parents at Face are liberal Anglos from NDG, left-wing Hispanics from Ahuntsic, French bougies from the Plateau, etc. And we all meet at Face downtown to raise our kids, to let them be educated in a public school environment where they get to learn the fine arts, dance, drama, music, visual arts, and where they represent what Montreal is really all about.
That's where Jay Baruchel went to school, if I'm not mistaken.
Correct. Yeah. It's all about people getting to know each other and growing together in our same mess in our vibrant city. It was such a great description, Jonathan, of what goes on at Face. And it sounds like they're going to lose it. They've had a little bit of coverage from Le Devoir and the Gazette. And he said, we need to reach out to more people, more sort of people that believe in all of these same things in terms of what Montreal represents. He said he's not leading any committee for fighting against the decision to sell the school, but he is part of the Face School Foundation, and they've set up a fund to help the mobilization for a committee. So they have a Facebook page, Sauvons Face, Let's Save Face, and Face is f.a.c.e. And also you can go to saveface.ca that redirects to the fundraising platform. Congrats on the show. Always a pleasure to hear you too. Jonathan, thank you for that. I absolutely loved your description.
Michael Rain wrote from, I guess, just across the Georgia-South Carolina border. Augusta is near the border with South Carolina. Mm-hmm. I gather from Michael's letter.
Yep.
From his email, he said, in regard to the Masters being on the South Carolina side of the river, let me tell you what it means to most of the locals. You avoid crossing into the Georgia side of the river at all costs. You buy extra groceries so you're not having to go out on the roads. And most definitely, you don't go out to eat anywhere. If you're able to get a table, you will be sticker shocked with the prices, as most restaurants have special Masters menus with pricing that's geared for the private jet set elite who have week-long access to the course.
Wow. It's funny because not funny. I mean, that's typical of what people do now is gouge. But the Masters on the course, they do not. An egg salad sandwich at the Masters, I think, is $3.
Really?
Yep. It's famous for...
How much is a ticket, though?
Well, if you can get one, right? Yeah. That's the thing. I've entered the lottery a couple of times.
Have you?
Never had any luck. It's all by lottery, unless you know Al at Budweiser.
A friend of mine went down for a practice round one time, and that was a big deal.
Yeah,
that he actually got tickets for a practice round.
Here's another note from. Let's see. This comes from Ray Muzzy. Longtime listener, first-time caller. My wife and I listened every weekday in the late 80s into the 90s. We live in Vermont, so traffic updates never helped us on our commute to Burlington, but loved listening to you both, like laughing with friends every morning. I was a recipient of a happy birthday from Terry, thank you, and I found out about the podcast from the Costco article, and I have binge listened to them all.
Nice.
Loved your interview with Leela and Tom from the Damn Truth. And like Terry said, Leela sings the shit out of those songs. Great album, can't stop playing it. You're my Wednesday Drive podcast, the best day of the week. Thanks to you both. Ray, that's a lovely letter. Thank you so much for that. Hi, Terry and Ted. I have lived my whole life in Alberta, so I never knew you guys as radio personalities, and I don't recall how I learned about your podcast, but I'm glad I found it. I really enjoy your stories about living in Montreal. I learned so much from your stories about what it's like to live there in Montreal, in Quebec, and dealing with so many factors about living in that province and city that as an Albertan, I was unaware of. Thank you, Tracy. That comes from Tracy.
That's nice, eh? That's high praise. When
That's-
someone who
yes.
doesn't even and has never lived in the city taps into the podcast.
That's
like
from
that.
Tracy Webb. Thank you, Tracy. And here's one that says, big fans of the dynamic duo. You guys figure out who's wearing the tights. I grew up in the 80s listening to you guys on the radio. Been listening since episode 1. Thanks for the memories. My fondest memory of Terry is hosting a breakfast show directly from my neighbor's house, Angie, in St. Leonard with the Roma food truck. And you were kind enough to take a picture with me and my then small kids. I listened to your cast in my daily slugfest, taking the tunnel to the South Shore. Vive la construction à Montréal. Thank you, Joe. And as I said in my note back to you, I do remember that morning.
I got a note from Alex Graham, who does his laundry and makes some coffee and listens to the podcast every Saturday morning while that's going on. And Chris Liu wrote in to say loves the podcast but didn't enjoy the Champ segment.
Yes.
Last week.
Yeah.
The Champ segment by McLean and McLean.
Understandable.
Yeah, blue humor to say the least.
Yep.
And as we said last week, we gave a warning.
Yeah.
And one person's floor is another person's ceiling when it comes to comedy.
I view it through a different prism because they were friends of mine. I knew them and I knew them well.
Yeah.
So, and it was it was from the late 70s, early 80s.
Early 80s, yeah. So, Chris, thank you for the note. Sorry you didn't enjoy the Champ, but thank you for the kind words about the rest of the podcast.
And last but certainly not least, we got a note about Festival de la Voix, a month of music in the West Island. We got a note from Janice Kirshner, who's doing publicity for them. This coming Saturday, the festival, by the way, is in its 12th season, and they do music every weekend in April until the 27th. In Dorval, Pointe Claire, Beaconsfield, Saint Genevieve, Saint Thérèse, multi-artist concerts, choirs, jazzes, big bands, opera, sing-alongs, all kinds of different stuff. And this Sunday, you'll be able to see it. Selena Ann and Sing Sing Sing. It's a morning of stories and music for kids and parents. And then next Saturday, the 26th, there's more of it. What you can do is go to just Google Festival de la Voix, and there's all kinds of things going on with free passes available through the Stewart Hall in Pointe Claire. Festivaldelavoix.com. And I thought on that note, I would mention if you do have things that pertain to a Montreal audience and you're looking for extra publicity, we're happy to do it.
Standing by the podcast at gmail.com.
Or go to the website.
Yeah.
terryandtedpodcast.com.
Yeah.
Yes, you can. Thank you, Matthew. Our producer, Matthew. Here we go. Yeah. Oh, yes. I
Phoenix Suns owner Matt Ishbia,
yeah.
praised for lowering arena food prices to $2.
Wow. And that's where the Phoenix Suns play?
Yeah.
Wow. That's something.
A hot dog from $9 down to $2.
Yeah. Well, you know what?
Bag of chips was $7.
Yeah. But you know what?
And that's in US dollars.
For people that are already paying $400 for a ticket.
Yeah.
You know, it's a bit rich to say to them, okay, now we want, $21 for 2 hot dogs.
Yeah.
Don't you think?
Yeah, well, listen, that's what happens at the Forum.
Yep. I made a mistake.
Listen to me, the Bell Center.
Yeah, I made a mistake, by the way. The Masters, an egg salad sandwich is $1.50.
Wow.
And for the 23rd consecutive year, the pimento cheese sandwich at the Masters will also be $1.50. So there you go.
Crazy business.
Yeah, it's they apparently it's between $1.50. Prices are from $1.50 to $3, and breakfast is between $2 and $3. And all you need is $2,000 for the ticket.
Yeah. And then you're on your way. Then you can get a cheap sandwich.
Yeah. I wanted to point this out only because I'm on the roads a lot. I don't know if you've noticed this, Ted. And Matthew, you can weigh in on this because I'm going to paint everybody's. I'm going to blame everybody.
Paint everybody with the same brush?
Right. There are 2 things I've noticed. Do you have a driver's license, Matthew? Yes. How old were you when you got it? Oh, good. Oh, so you got right to it. Okay. I've been told that there's a lot of people that live in town. They don't bother getting a driver's license, or they wait till their 20s to get it. Yeah. Our friend Esteban, remember my friend Esteban who produced the morning show?
Yeah.
I think he got his in his late 20s, 30s. So,
But was he driving without a license before he got it?
No.
Okay.
No, he just waited.
Yeah.
So now what I notice is there are a lot of younger folks that are sort of, they don't have like the experience. So people like in their late 20s, 30s, into their 30s are little sort of unfamiliar with the rules of the road, mostly the left-hand lane thing, which is now, I mean, the left-hand lane thing doesn't exist. If you're old enough to understand what I'm talking about, you know what I'm talking about. And the other thing is in traffic, in bumper-to-bumper traffic, people in their late 20s, early 30s now use that as an opportunity to get on their phones. So that makes traffic worse. Yeah. So because you're stuck in traffic, you reach for your phone because you're addicted to it. You look down at it, and then traffic moves, and you don't.
Yeah.
You're making traffic worse. Okay, that's all.
Also, it's not just young people. I see a lot of like 50-year-old, 60-year-olds on their phone too. Everyone is on them.
Okay.
And I have a friend who drives a motorcycle.
Yes.
So he's like very at risk, and he sees everyone pretty much is on their phone.
Is that right, eh?
Times.
Everybody.
Like he says 30% of people at least are on their phones.
No kidding, eh?
It's crazy.
It's, and I think it's a contributor to the increasing traffic craziness that we
It
see
could well
in the
be,
city.
The left lane thing to me only applies on the highway. It doesn't apply on like if I'm going up St. John's Road and I'm in the left lane.
No.
I can go well, whatever's, I might have to turn left in the next block or two. You're talking about the highway.
Yeah. I'm talking about on the Trans-Canada. On
It's
a wide, with a
lane.
wide open road, and you're going 90 or 85.
That's a very Ontario thing.
Yeah. And you look in the mirror and you're like, I'm not getting out of the way.
Yeah.
You screw you speeding bastard. I'm not moving. There's a lot of that. And that's a story as old as cars. It's been around for a very, very long time. Shall we say good morning and hello to our good friends at Accutech?
Tom and Trish at Accutech Electric, they're looking to partner with general contractors, and I guess this would be the time of the year to do that with the construction season getting ready to gear up once again. Trish says that we want to connect with more general contractors who want to build long-term relationships with tradespeople. And if you're a general contractor, I would imagine there is electricity involved in your general contracting.
Yes,
unless you're making, I don't know, an igloo or a portalet or something like that. Otherwise, electricity is probably a factor. So Accutech wants to build trusting relationships where they are really planning partners with general contractors and other trades to make sure that work done for clients is well planned, organized, and delivered to the client's expectations. And we can vouch for Accutech Electric.
We sure can.
We've dealt with Trish extensively. Haven't met Trish yet, but we've dealt with her extensively on email. We met Tom, had a nice lunch with him. Tom's a guy who he found his calling as an electrician, but he missed his calling as a philosopher.
Yeah.
He's a really cool, interesting guy.
Bit of a Zen master.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. He'll quote Plato to you while he's rewiring your house.
Yeah. And that's the other thing. They'll come and tell you what, you call him for a quote. Say, I've got this thing, and he'll come and see you and say, and he'll be honest with you and say, look, if you want this done properly, this is what I have to do, and this is what I'm going to do, and this is what it's going to cost you.
Second generation family-run business, West Island based, but they do work all around the Montreal area. You can find them online at accutech.ca, ACUTECH.ca.
Time for the tweet sheet.
Shall we?
Yes, it is.
Remember we were saying last week that the short ones are quite often the funnier ones? Yeah, I think that stands up to the test this week. Brevity being the soul of wit. From @DarkCharnley. Got kicked out of another gang for mowing the trap house lawn in bikini briefs.
What a visual.
Not a big seller with the other gang members, I guess. From @BobJanky. You named your baby Joe? Does he go to AA meetings?
Oh, God.
And from @Mamikiamo. You lost me at supposable thumbs. I knew you'd like that.
Yeah, that drives. What is the one? What's the one that drives Jess and I crazy? There's one that people always. I'm gonna have a hard time thinking about it now.
Like the word that people.
Yeah,
especially.
That's the one.
Especially.
That's the one.
Especially.
That drives me into my bloody mind. You know, especially when we're. And we see it sometimes on television, and you see some people who you would think know better say that. You know, it's what they think they've heard. Yeah. Especially, you know, that's like espresso. Mm-hmm. It's not espresso. No,
it's espresso.
Yeah. And I don't
tell an Italian you want espresso. Yeah. And some ketchup. They love that. Nona loves that when you ask her for ketchup.
Speaking of food, I understand you got some chocolates, and I have to make my way to Richer. Robert Richer Jewelers to pick up mine.
My chocolates did not last long.
I was going to say you didn't bring any in.
No,
today.
You know what I did with them?
Ate them?
Not only did Pierre bring me. Pierre went to Antwerp on his semi-annual diamond buying trip, and not only did he bring me back the box of Mad chocolates, which are high-end Dutch Belgian chocolates, he also brought something called stroopwafel.
Yeah, I've never had it, and I didn't know it was a thing. But it looks like there's caramel in it, so
there is caramel in it, and it's I was dunking them in my coffee.
Okay,
so I picked all this up on Friday, and I thought to myself, I'm going to eat all of this at once, and I'm going to put on 30 pounds in about 15 minutes. So I took it to an AA meeting, and I laid it all out, all the stroopwafels and the chocolates, and the alcoholics gobbled that up like nobody's business. Let me tell you, sugar. They didn't last long. So on behalf of AA, Pierre, thank you.
By the way, don't go to Robert Richer Jewelers for stroopwafel.
No.
Although you will get a little candy bar when you're leaving.
Well, listen, they had I was in there on Friday, and they had out the... what are the little round chocolate balls in the fancy wrappers? It's a high-end Lindt.
Lindt.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah, they got a bowl of Lindt chocolate
that's
right by the front door.
Yeah.
So I stood there and I ate those.
Yeah, it's LINDT, by the way, not LINT.
Lindt. Yeah. I was there with my friend Zach. Zach proposed to his girlfriend Amber on the weekend, and before he did, he took his grandmother's ring. His late grandmother's ring to Robert Richer Jewelers, and Pierre polished it up for him. And Saturday, he got on bended knee, did Zach,
Very nice.
Amber said yes.
Congratulations to them both.
I was the yenta.
Were you?
I was the one who set them up. Yeah.
Nice, very nice.
So I win.
You do?
Yeah. The credit for all of their happiness is rightfully mine.
Okay, Ted.
So that's something that they can do for you at Robert Richer Jewelers.
Yes.
You don't necessarily have to go in and buy a diamond ring if you already have a ring, but you want it cleaned up or remodeled. And
they
did
it for us.
Yeah, they're going to do that this week. Amber's going to go in with the ring this week, and they're probably going to put a new band on it and reset it and see what else they can do with it. But that's the sort of thing they can do. Pierre was also showing us pictures from his trip. He showed us a 28-carat, actually matching 28-carat diamonds.
Wow.
What do you think they're worth?
I can't even imagine.
$5 million each.
There you
figures.
go.
Yeah. Some Asian buyer said, give me two.
Okay.
And then he showed us a big, I don't know what the term is, but for lack of a better term, like an unrefined, an uncut stone.
Right.
That was, I don't know how many carats it was, but he guessed 12 million.
Wow.
So he showed us the pictures, and he said, "I'm not going to send this to you. I don't want you to put it online because security reasons." But that's the kind of access Pierre gets when he goes to Antwerp to the diamond factories. So if you want to get right to the source, go to Robert Richer Jewelers.
They're in Dorval on Dorval Avenue,
309 Dorval Avenue, just across from the
Flim Flam.
Yeah.
Thought I would mention, I don't have a lot of recommendations for you this week, although I'd like to start with the new Elton John album that he did with Brandi Carlile. I know I mentioned this on the podcast already, but today, driving into town, I normally listen to a podcast, and today I chose to listen to the Elton John record. If you were a fan of Elton John in the 1970s, if you're a fan of Honky Chateau, Tumbleweed Connection, that Madman Across the Water, that era of Elton John. I know through the 90s and into the 2000s and even in the last 15 years, he did a record with, Leon Russell, and he sort of toyed with some sort of country-esque kind of stuff. None of it was my favorite. This Brandi Carlile, she's so talented, and she lit a fire under his ass. I'm telling you, I haven't heard him play the piano like this since, Don't Shoot Me, I'm Only the Piano Player in the 70s. These melodies are spectacular. The record is spectacular. If you're an old fan of Elton John from that era, you will love the new Elton John Brandi Carlile album. There's some great, great tracks, and amazingly, some spectacular Elton John melodies on it. I finished watching 1923, and I thought it was a wonderful conclusion. If you haven't seen it, it's on Paramount Plus. It stars Helen Mirren and Harrison Ford. Harrison Ford is spectacular in it. He makes an old school. His turn as the head of the family is just, it's John Wayne-like. It's just, the old Midwestern hero with the cowboy hat and the kindness and the anger. It's an epic, and it's sweet at the end, and it's got a really, really good ending that I won't spoil, and I highly recommend it. It's called 1923. And my wife and I are into Righteous Gemstones with Danny McBride. I know I've mentioned it before. Bit of a, odd season this year so far. It's going to be their last season, so I think they're struggling a little bit with it, but we absolutely love it. And somebody asked me an email last week about normal television. Do I watch any normal television? I've mentioned this before on the podcast too. My wife and I love Below Deck. It's as trashy as it gets. It's the story of yachts, sailboats, the crew at the bottom of the deck, below deck, serving the bougie people at the top of the deck. And yes, it's reality television, and yes, it's trashy. And Jess and I never miss an episode. We love it.
Is it on 6 or 12?
It's on Lubu or Bravo, or if you have cable.
Something that I could guess?
You probably could get it.
Yeah. All right.
Yeah. There you go. That's a very short list of what I recommend.
I'm just watching 1970s reruns online.
How's that going?
Real good.
Don't forget to do the Mobland thing. I'm telling you.
No, I'm going to do
Mobland
it. I'm waiting for some. I'm waiting for episodes to stack up.
Yeah.
So that I can subscribe, binge watch it, and then unsubscribe.
It's the best thing on streaming television that I've seen in a very long time. It's Pierce Brosnan and Helen Mirren again. They're just spectacular in it. He's an evil bastard.
We've said it before, and I'll say it again. He's at his best when he plays a bad guy.
So good.
Yeah, and television is so much better than it used to be.
Yeah,
I was thinking about that this morning.
It
about
is.
Some of the shows that used to be on in the 70s, like they just did not stand the test of time. And one that came to mind for me was BJ and the Bear. Remember that?
I do.
the long haul truck driver?
I do.
Who had a monkey for a sidekick. Yeah. BJ and the Bear. In retrospect, it sounds like a gay porn movie.
Oh, God. Yeah. Marcus Welby. Remember the drama on Marcus Welby?
Marcus Welby, MD.
Oh, that's right. Yeah. Excuse me, MD. I also forgot to mention Timothy Dalton plays the bad guy in 1923.
Another former James Bond.
That's right. Yeah. And he's a really bad guy in this.
Yeah. He's a good bad guy? He plays a good bad guy?
He plays a good bad guy. Oh, boy. Oof. Wow.
Because he kind of got panned as James Bond. Yeah, nobody liked Timothy Dalton as James Bond.
He was not my favorite Bond either.
My favorite Bond was Buddy, who played the last one.
Yeah, Gin Jellyby.
Yeah, why?
Daniel Craig.
Yes. Yeah. And what
I remember Gin Jellyby?
The old Gin Jellyby, yeah. What I liked about him is that he was flawed.
Yes.
That's what made him such an appealing character to me. He wasn't that polished, perfect James Bond. He had flaws, and that made him a better character.
Shaken or stirred, I don't give a shit.
Did he say that?
Yeah, something to that effect in one of the movies.
Great.
Was such a great curveball. We should, when I was leaving today to head into town for the podcast, Jess said, don't forget to make an appointment at Merson. And I got to do that today when we're done here, and we're going to be done shortly. I think it's time, don't you?
I did it already.
You've done it already?
Yeah, I was there on the 10th. What was that, Tuesday?
For sure. It's
Monday.
It's going to snow now, and it's going to be your fault.
Then probably, yeah. In and out in an hour and change.
There you go.
Tire change, tire storage, oil change, and shouldn't have been, but was pleasantly surprised at the bill.
Yeah.
Like I thought, I put X amount of dollars in my checking account, which is where I pay my bills through, thinking, okay, it's probably going to be this, and I put that in there, and
money left over.
Yeah. So I went out and got so hammered. Had to take a newcomer chip, ate a bunch of chocolates and stroopwafel. You know the drill.
I don't want to go on and on about it. The Mersons are a family-run business we've been talking about for so long now. Like we are on our second generation of Mersons. When I started, it was Bonnie and Mark, and Bonnie and Mark's daughter, Kara, and her husband, Celso, are now running the shop. And Mark and Bonnie pitch in when it gets super, super busy. Was it busy?
It wasn't too bad.
Yeah.
It wasn't too bad. It was busy, but it wasn't overflowing.
You made an appointment.
Yeah. And I was in there at 9:30 a.m.
Yeah.
and out of there by 11 a.m. Kara was not there. They're not only a family-run business, they're a real family.
Yeah.
Kara wasn't there. And I said to Celso, where's Kara? And he said, she's home getting Passover ready.
There you go.
Yeah. And I spoke to Kara this morning, and I said, how was Passover? And she said, oi.
That's a high compliment, eh?
Yeah.
They'll look after you. We can't tell you how well they will look after you. I promise you, you're not going to find a better spot. They can store your summer or your winter tires, and you got to make an appointment.
Yeah. Especially this time of year.
487-5545, or as I often say, just past the corner of St. Jacques and Cavendish. You can pop in and see them and say hello. Speaking of saying hello, I want to say hello to Jeff Bartlett, longtime friend of ours.
Former producer of ours.
Without fail, I get a note from him every Wednesday night or Thursday morning. He never misses the podcast, and he's busy, like crazy busy. And he says it brings such joy to him every week. Because, he likes to mock us.
I was going to say, as much joy as when he used to mock us, when he was greatest mocking laugh, and even better mocking laugh than Poseidon. And Poseidon's got a good mocking laugh.
Yeah, and also one of the nicest people you'd ever want to meet. We love him dearly. Anyway, thank you. Appreciate that, Jeff. And this is something Pantelis told us last week as we're getting ready to wrap up. We don't know anything. So we always forget to ask you to subscribe. Now, apparently, this is important. This is important, Matthew? Is this important? To click subscribe, correct?
Subscribe and 5 stars on Spotify.
Okay. So that would really help us in some way, shape, or form.
Yeah.
So if you listen to the podcast every week, can you
on Apple or Spotify?
Yeah, please click subscribe.
I think you can also subscribe on YouTube, no? Or would they be subscribing to the Pantelis network?
You subscribe to Pantelis' network.
Yeah, well, there's lots of other great content on Pantelis' network.
You can thumbs up the video. That helps.
Thumbs up the video.
But the biggest one is good reviews on Apple Music or Spotify.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Okay.
Thanks, Matthew.
So if you're regular listeners, we'd appreciate that.
Yeah, it would help us.
Yeah,
and we'd be grateful.
Yeah, and we'd be grateful for that because it's we're longtime professional broadcasters in a new era where we're still learning.
And we're trying to cut through the clutter.
Yeah.
And Lord knows there's clutter on the podcast front. We used to be one of half a dozen morning radio shows in Montreal.
Yeah.
And now we're just one of thousands upon thousands
Hundreds
of podcasts.
Of thousands.
Yeah.
Yeah, literally.
So anything you can do to help us stand out, we're grateful for it.
We appreciate it. And you can go to the website. It's terryandtedpodcast.com. You can send us mail there. You can look at clips there. And all of this season's episodes are there in case you want to go back. Our thanks to Matthew Borgelli, our producer. And our thanks to Pantelis and Mike Ward and all the people at the Pantelis Comedy Network for hosting us and having us around. We appreciate that very much. Again, thanks for listening. Hope you'll do it again next week.
Standing by, the Terry and Ted podcast has been brought to you by the UPS Store Canada, delivering full-service solutions for your small business.